So it's tryout season, and your child is auditioning for a team. Maybe they're re-auditioning for their team, and you're trying to figure out where they need to be playing next season. So a lot's going on. You're getting a lot of social media, you're getting access to newsletters, you're talking to a lot of parents, maybe you're going to a town hall, and all of it is overwhelming, especially if you're sort of starting out or in the early parts of your child's athletic career. So here are some things that I've learned and I have thought about and definitely would do differently. Given that my son is now going to be a senior next year, and he's embarking on his last official youth soccer tryout, and things that I would have really focused on early on in this journey. And it all centers on development. And there's 3 points. And I will say before I go to the 3 points, parents, that if you're a club or a coach or an organizational leader, pay attention, because these are things that you should be willing to answer and have some specific details on. So number 1 is around data. Data around your child is important. When they go to school, they get a report card, and therefore you as a parent have some sense of what's going on academically. Well, there should be zero difference what they do after school and their sport, because if they're spending that much time in a specific sport, and you're spending a lot of time getting them to that sport and getting them to the games and so forth, that means that there's probably some learning happening and development that they need to understand and they need to be working towards. So if the organization does not formalize a development process, that means they're not really a competitive program. That means they're just giving you a service of playing, almost like a rec program. So in order for you to really understand and evaluate your child's development, you need data. So ask the formalization process. What does it look like? How often do they provide a formal feedback? If the feedback is just casual coach to player or once a year coach to parent, that's not good enough. That is not a formal process. That is not centered on development. You need to know where your child stands in the coach's eyes. And also, a little added plus, that it should be more than one coach evaluating. You should have multiple coaches evaluating your child, especially if the system is significantly larger than a one team kind of thing. So pay attention to how they describe their development process, how they document it, and how often you get information from the coaching staff. Number 2, especially when it comes to team sports, it's really important that in team sports, you get to see the video of games that are happening. Nowadays, that technology is so easy to get. Now, it can be expensive, which is why every club who is really serious about competitive sports should be able to provide that as part of their product. And that means that maybe you pay for it in your fees, but it should be something that's a given. You shouldn't have to add extra to that. A team shouldn't say, hey, the club doesn't pay for this, but we're going to get it. It should be part of the curriculum of the process of learning. So making sure that the club provides video, and that whether you pay for it extra or not, at least that you have access to it. But most importantly with the video is, what do you do with it once you get it? So yes, you can have access to it. Some kids love watching themselves play, but more importantly, what are you looking for? So coaches should really be skilled in providing analysis on that video, and they should be able to provide the players, especially older players, tips and tricks in terms of how to take that video and create highlights and create all the things that they need for their own process, but also what they should be looking for. So every so often, coaches should be meeting with teams and doing a video highlight analysis, or at the very least, they can document it and write it up and send it out. Something that shows that there's some higher level thinking, that the video isn't just there, that it's something that they're using as part of the development process. So ask how they're doing that, if that's even available. And last, playing time. This is a big one for me. I wish I could go back and do things differently for my son, but playing time should be a guarantee. If you're playing competitive sports, there's no way that you can actually develop as a player if you don't get real-time experience in the game. So playing time should not be something that is competitive and you earn it. No. In a competitive program where you're playing in a club where you're paying a lot of money, your child already earned it. They paid the bills, right? So now you show up, you do the practice, you come to the games. And that's how you get the playing time. It has nothing to do with earning it the way that they traditionally have said. That's what you're paying for. That's part of development. So yes, can it be something that is minimized? Doesn't mean your kid should be a starter. It just means that they should get adequate time on the field so that they can see how they're progressing in the game. That means they can apply what they've learned during practice in the game situation. A scrimmage in practice is not the same. And so they really need that experience of being on the field. And again, it isn't something that you pay extra for. It's part of the development. It's part of what you've signed up for. It's part of the journey. So even kids who are older, middle school, high school, I would demand that there is a process around playing time. And if your child isn't getting the adequate playing time, then that's a question of whether or not it's the right program for them. So again, those are my 3 questions, all around development and clubs, organizations. Pay attention. You should be really ready to answer these. If you can't answer them adequately, that means you don't have an answer and you have some work to do.